Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the YouTube channel, and I have got an interesting little video for you today. So just a couple of days ago, I was fortunate enough to be on stage in front of about 1,400 entrepreneurs and business owners at the National Entrepreneurs Convention, held by our very good friends at the Entrepreneur Circle. And now, as you can see, the theme of the convention was persistence, and I was able to share my own story of persistence in the form of a newsletter which I created that, since launching it, has added over 300 grand of annual recurring revenue for our business, and is right in the middle of doing a lot more for us on that front as well. And so an email newsletter, oh my God, is the most, that's been around for many years, hardly innovative here, right? But the thing I realized is that the majority of business owners do newsletters very wrong. And so I set out about 18 months ago to do one in the right way. And as a result, it's become a very good driver of new business for us in a marketing agency, and it's an interesting little story. So listen to this if you A, want to understand how to do newsletters better, and B, if you're in an industry where the reputation can be not that good, and I'll explain why later, then an email newsletter might be just the way to create a tap of businesses, customers that already know, like, and trust you, and thus want to become your customers. So without further ado, let me run through the presentation. So let me start by taking you back to August 2020. Those of you in the UK will remember that Boris Johnson still had us plunged in lockdown, and this was actually around the time that Rishi Sunak launched Eat Out to help out, which was, funny to look back at that. But it was also during that time, during that chaos, that Botters was born, my digital growth agency. Now, I started it very much so out of the front office of my mum and dad's home. This picture of me and Charlie, my old best bud. And it was great fun. And our idea was like, right, we can provide a done-for-you service to grow other businesses, because my skill set I had acquired before this was working in a big agency running Facebook, Instagram ads for some of the biggest businesses on the planet. And so I thought, right, let's take all this knowledge that I know and let's go do it for smaller businesses. And so fundamentally, we would grow these businesses by running their paid ads, designing and building their landing pages, and also helping them out with their follow-up, so the emails, communications that would go out to leads and even customers once they're in the system, to make sure that we're getting the most out of them. Like a lot of people, I just reached out to my personal network, and that was how we got our first clients. So I knew there was 3 or 4 businesses that I could help already, reached out, said, look, I'm doing this, I think I can help you, will you give me a shot? And luckily for me, they did. And so the ball started rolling. And so I found this chart, and I love this chart, the momentum snowball, because during this phase when I just started my business, I had what is called uninformed optimism. I was just so excited. It was like the most excited period of my life. And I was right down here in the yay phase, because I'd started something new and beginning to work and feel some progress. However, such is the life of running a business, I had no idea just about this climb that I had in front of me, where you end up putting in so much effort for such a sustained period of time, often without seeing any result. And actually, the more I've gone through business and really in life in general, I think your ability to do hard work on the right things for a long period of time without seeing any result ultimately is what gets you the success, because once you're able to get to the top of the momentum snowball, it's that final push that all of a sudden means everything starts working. And so in my business, we were growing and we were working hard and we were building momentum. We moved down to London. We got our first little office. This is actually our second office that we upgraded to. Had a few little team members. It was an awesome little setup. Our team started growing. We went from 1 to 2 to 4 to 7. Next thing you know, 7's becoming 13, 14. We're moving to bigger offices. And it was all very exciting, right? I was feeling very pumped. But the thing that was driving literally all of this growth was referrals. So people referring their friends to us because we'd done a good job. And that was fantastic, right? Referrals are amazing because it's an easy sales pitch, if you can even call it a pitch. Most of these people just are ready to sign up and give you cash because they've already heard how good you are from a trusted source. They have a huge level of belief and confidence, which is awesome because it means when we start working together, they just trust you to do the job, so you have a great relationship. And ultimately, they already knew the price as well, because their friend had told them. So there was no obstacles to overcome on the price. But there is a problem with referrals. Whilst they are amazing for all of those reasons, fundamentally, they are reliable. Unreliable. And what was happening in my business was a bit of a cycle like this. So we'd start the year off and we'd get a referral, and we'd celebrate, and our revenue would jump up. Next month, boom, we would get another referral. We'd be on a hot streak and our revenue would bump up again. We'd then have a couple of months when no referrals came in. Before, out of nowhere, another referral would swing on by, revenue would increase. You know, like all businesses, we're not perfect, and occasionally we do lose a client, and so our revenue would come back down. Before then, we would have these extremely long and painful stagnant periods of 3-4 months at a time when no referrals would happen. And that would be very annoying. And then all of a sudden you get a referral out of nowhere. So whilst referrals were good, fundamentally very unreliable. Especially for us, because we were young, hungry, ambitious, we wanted to grow. That for us, we deliver a service and our people deliver the service. Therefore, we needed to grow our team, we wanted to scale our operations, and that meant we had to grow our overheads. And so we could only really do this with confidence if we had reliable revenue growth. So we could no longer rely on these referrals, and instead we needed to build ourselves a system to rhythmically acquire customers. And I'll be totally honest with you, I was struggling at this, you know, which, as I said on stage at this event, in front of all these business owners, as a man who literally owns a digital growth agency, whose sole purpose is to crack the rhythmic acquisition of customers for his clients, I was struggling to do it for myself. And yes, there is a lot of irony in that. However, here is the reason why. So, most people have used a marketing agency before and had a bad experience. If you're a business owner watching this, I bet you have as well. And as a result, the reputation is somewhat tarnished. And so if we go through our usual methods of running ads, engaging cold people, this is what happened. We'd speak with them, and Jesus Christ, from the get-go, it was an uphill battle. They'd be ridiculously skeptical from the start, almost believing it wouldn't work. It would be a very tough sales pitch, and now it was a real pitch, a real uphill battle with ridiculous amounts of objection handling and overcoming. If we did start to do work together, we noticed they had a low level of belief and confidence, and therefore they would micromanage. They'd question you on everything you did and just make very difficult clients, but also had a limited frame on price. You know, agencies, marketing agencies, we exist on a spectrum. Now, that spectrum charges different prices. You have people on the low end, you have people on the high end. We're positioned at the higher end because of the level of stuff that we do. And so if you've got people that are used to dealing with agencies on the lower end of the spectrum, explaining that jump can be quite difficult because they have already been fixed on that frame of price from before. So, long story short, their trust was very low, is the reason that underpins all of those challenges that we had. And so I thought to myself, you know what, there has got to be a better way of doing this here. There's got to be a better way for us to crack this. And so I started to ask myself, okay, how can I create a flow of inbound leads that already know, like, and trust me? And ideally, without having to spend too much time, effort, and energy in doing so. And I'll be honest, I chewed on this for a very long time. I thought, and the answer did not come to me straight away. In fact, it took me reframing the question before I finally got the answer. I reframed the question and asked what would have to be true for it to be completely unreasonable for me to not succeed. Because I very much like scenarios where it is unreasonable for the thing I want to happen to not happen. And that was when I had the idea, guys. I had the idea. I figured if I had a list of 10,000 business owners and I sent them one email every week, filled with value, showcasing what we were doing, it would be completely unreasonable for me to not get at least 10 clients a year from that list. It would just be unreasonable. In fact, I should get more than 10. I should probably get 15, 20, even more. And for us, that's all the growth we need and some. And so that was when I had the idea, right, let's do an email newsletter. I figured I'd be able to spend 1 to 2 hours a week writing this thing, be able to share what's working well now for us in our business. I'd be able to slowly and consistently build a relationship with the readers and ultimately drive them to reach out to us and therefore almost recreate referrals without having the unreliability of waiting for other people to do it for us. So that is what we did. And I created the Hyper Growth Blueprint. I got very excited. I launched it on my LinkedIn. This was the post. Announced it to my loyal followers. Got 56 likes on this bad boy and about 52 people signed up to the list. So if you're watching this, I just want to say thank you. God bless. And it was on the 13th of June 2023 that I actually launched the first ever episode of my newsletter. The Hypergrowth Blueprint, man, it went out. And I was excited. Oh, I was excited. I sat there ready and waiting for all of the inquiries to come my way. I was ready to accept all the money. But literally nothing happened. But of course, tying into the theme of this convention was one of persistence, and I was persistent. So I started writing every single week and chugging out newsletters, come hell or high water. I did not stop, and I did not miss a beat. And not gonna lie, writing a weekly newsletter every single week was a little bit tough. It was a whole new chunk of workload. Some people think that you kind of batch these things and, you know, make 10 in one go and then you're sorted for 10 weeks. That's not how I work, and so I literally block out a Tuesday morning where I write the newsletter, and then at 10:47, give and take 2 or 3 minutes, my newsletter goes out every Tuesday. And I would just create it then. And so doing it at that time is great, pros and cons. Pros, it means your newsletter is always very topical, but cons, it also means that you need to get it out on that Tuesday. And I remember one fateful day where I was cruising around the Norwegian fjords, and I'd landed in a little town called Skjolden, which has a population of 240 people, and we were hiking up this nice little trail one morning to get this fantastic vantage point, and I realized I hadn't written my bloody newsletter. So I had to whip out my phone and frantically get one created, literally, and I sent it just before I reached this peak. So was it my best newsletter? No. But did I maintain the streak? Did I maintain my persistence? Yes. Yes, I did. But still, I'll keep it real. Nothing happened. And at this point, I'm talking about 8 months of sending out this thing every single week. But to tie it all back to this momentum snowball, I kind of knew that I was getting up here, but I was feeling the frustration. You know, it's a lot of work every week. I've been doing it for 8 months, sorry. That's a lot of newsletters, do the numbers. But I figured I must be getting close to the top because I had some good signs, you see. My newsletter subscribers were slowly growing. I'd gone from 52 to now just over 2,000. And I had some pretty good stats. People were staying subscribed, and they weren't unsubscribing, which I figured was good. 48.9% of people were opening them, 5% were clicking them. I was like, okay, there is some engagement there, this is good. But it wasn't until about 9 months from the date of starting my newsletter that things actually started to happen. And the best way I can explain this is through the analogy of a wave. You know, it was literally like there was a wave far away on the horizon that was very, very small. And it gradually and slowly came towards me. And as it did, it picked up size and momentum until all of a sudden one day, the first bit of the wave broke. And after that, tons more stuff started happening as well. So the current scores on the doors were, I launched this newsletter on the 13th of June. I sent it out 63 weeks in a row and still do. Generated just over 2,100 subscribers, 48.9% open rate. I've had 27 discovery calls, i.e. inbound inquiries from the newsletter. From that, we've had 6 sales, which in our business has netted us around 300 grand of annual recurring revenue, which is epic. And as I said, this has all happened really in the last couple of months. And so we're anticipating this year, it's gonna be double, triple, quadruple because of the wave breaking and all the impact from the long period of time where we were putting in hard work, generating the goodwill, doing the things behind the scenes before the action took place. So we are very excited. And fundamentally for us as an agency battling this dodgy reputation, and I know we're not the only industry out there that have that, this has unlocked predictable growth for us in a very nice way. And that is the story of the persistence. So that is the story, but now I want to break down exactly how I did it, my blueprint, so to speak, so you can learn how to create it and also how to grow it, so you can replicate this for yourself. Starting off with how to create it. And so I've got 7 steps here that I'm going to walk you through. Step number 1 is all about choosing a newsletter specific platform. So a lot of you, if you're running a business, you've probably already got a CRM system that you send a bunch of emails out on, do email marketing. I'm going to recommend that you don't use that for your newsletter, and here are my thoughts as to why. In my opinion, I wanted a newsletter platform because I wanted as little friction as possible for me writing this thing. I needed an experience that I enjoyed every week to go and sit down and write. Otherwise, if I didn't, I knew I would not do it. At the same time, I wanted to be able to create simple landing pages to get people signed up and have all of my newsletters stored online as well, and all this kind of stuff. I wanted it to just be done automatically really well without me having to worry about it. And so that's why I wanted a newsletter specific platform. Also for deliverability, if I'm going to go through the effort of writing this thing, I'm damn sure I want it to be delivered. And if I'm sending out a bunch of marketing emails from one domain in my CRM system, I then don't want to potentially damage my newsletter deliverability by having them as the same. I want to have a separate one on a platform that has best-in-class deliverability. But then finally, features. You know, newsletters are a big game, and newsletter features are really cool. And there's lots of little things you can inject into your newsletter that make a big impact that I will talk about that you can only really do with a newsletter platform. Now, there's a few on the market at the moment. The 3 top players are Beehive, ConvertKit, and Substack. Now, my specific criteria when I was choosing a platform was it had to be simple. I had to enjoy using it. I wanted it to have a nice, clean, minimalist design, best-in-class deliverability, super easy landing page creation, cool features that I can use that are going to help it grow, but also really good analytics so I can tell what's going on, because I am a data-driven marketer at the end of the day. So based on this, I chose Beehive, and Beehive is awesome, you know. Really cool, relatively new company on a great growth trajectory, but the platform, more importantly, speaks to me. You know, it's beautifully simple. You can see all your analytics. You can have a really nice streamlined editor. That's what it looks like. If you like Notion, like I do, you'll like Beehive. It's a Notion style editor. Really simple, really clean design. Also enables you to make the little landing pages. So all of my newsletters are actually available online for people to check out as well. But importantly, I can create a killer sign-up page, which is going to be very important to getting people signed up, with like no friction at all. So for me, it was the perfect choice. Now, obviously, when you invest in a new piece of software, it carries an additional cost for sure. However, in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that much unless you're packing hundreds of thousands of subscribers, in which case then you probably have the money for this anyway. But I like to think of this as an extra layer of monetary accountability. And so what I mean by that is if I'm paying for this additional tool to do this one specific thing, it's an added incentive for me to make sure I do the thing rather than just forget or give up one week because I'm busy. Now, if you do want to try Beehive, go and just Google Beehive. Or if you want to scan this QR code, if you're able to do that, this is my little affiliate link and you can get 20% off your first 3 months. Or go and check out the other ConvertKit, Substack, whatever you like. Saying about the affiliate link, it's about having a good platform. Once you've got our platform, then we are going to create our newsletter identity. So your business and your newsletter need to go hand in hand. Okay, and so your newsletter should have an easily recognizable name when it pops up in the inbox, but it should also clearly align with your business. So let me show you how I did this for my business. So my business is called Botters. We're a digital growth agency, and we help grow our clients' businesses, right? The clue is in the growth. We do this through our hypergrowth framework, which is our 9-step system that we take our clients on, and it's called the hypergrowth framework. Therefore, I call my newsletter the Hypergrowth Blueprint. Hopefully you can see the synergy there and how well aligned it is to our core business and what we do. In my business, we then fundamentally do 4 things: paid ads, landing pages, follow-up, and more recently, artificial intelligence. Therefore, in my newsletter, and this is a snap from my sign-up page, all we talk about are ads, AI, and growing businesses, and landing pages and follow-up. So we only talk about the core things that we do in our business. So the alignment is crystal clear. And that's important because this newsletter is simply a vessel to grow our business. Do not forget that. Step number 3 then, all about creating the structure. So the structure is the layout. I define it as the order and format of how the content is structured in your newsletter. And so this is mission critical in my book. Firstly, due to a concept of risk and reward. So if there's any traders out there watching this, you will understand this, And risk to reward is a model of how we make decisions. And so if you think about it, an email inbox, this is a snapshot from mine, is a battle zone, I've got 1,200 just newsletters in my newsletter folder unread at the moment. Every day, dozens pour in. And so it's a fight to which ones I open. And so by creating a consistent newsletter structure, we help the reader decrease the potential risk of opening our newsletter because they don't know what's going to be in it, and amplify the level of reward by giving them an expectation of what it should contain. So it's all about lowering the risk, increasing the reward, and ultimately getting more people to open it and have a positive association with your newsletter because they know consistently what it's going to be like. And I bet you can identify this in your own newsletter patterns, the ones you like and enjoy. I bet follow a similar structure every week. Now, the structure always stays the same to manage expectations, but the content within that always changes. Of course it does. We're not sending the same stuff out over and over again. But here's exactly how I approach the structure of my newsletter. Now, warning, when you first see my newsletters, they might seem a bit long. And they are quite long, for sure. However, this is where I argue there's no such thing as too long, only too boring. And so my structure is made up of 3 parts. And the first part is always an agenda. So the agenda, it looks a little bit like this. It simply says what this email contains this week, and it's right at the top. I also give a read time as well, but this manages the reader's expectations, and if anything, it puts the reader in the position of control and power. Because by laying it out like this, they are now able to decide whether or not they continue and read the rest of the email. And they like that. And obviously, if it's a good topic, a good agenda, people will. So managing the expectations from the get-go. Secondly then, I always have a personal insight. And so the personal insight sits beneath that, and it's normally a picture of me doing something, and is a very short 1 or 2 paragraph insight around what I was doing, and normally tied into some kind of business insight that I may have had. Then we get into the core value, and so this is the meat, this is the main reason people come, and so I break down a key problem that I think the readers might have and exactly how I would solve it. And so in this case, it was the anatomy of a great marketing email, and I broke down our process for doing that. I actually went into what makes a terrible email, a bit of inverted thinking, before then tackling our 7-step process that we follow to make good emails. So that is like the loose structure: agenda, personal insight, core value. Now when you have a structure like this, very simple, it helps us answer the ultimate question, which is, what the flipping heck am I going to write in my newsletter every single week? Because I know for most people that is the blocker. And so I'm going to explain exactly how I do it and how you can too. So starting off with the personal insight, because of course the agenda is going to write itself once the newsletter is created. The purpose of this section is simply to bind the reader to you, the author. And so we want to give them an insight from your personal life so they can relate to you. So ask yourself, what have you actually been up to in this last week? I would check my calendar, I'd look at my photos, I'd check my notes, what have I been doing that's interesting that I can pull an insight out and share with my readers. Now, to be very, very clear, this isn't just any old random thought that you might have had. No, this is still a strategic personal insight, and it should do one of these 4 things. It should be relatable, it should be authoritative, it should be educational, or it should be aspirational. Because we want to build a specific type of relationship with the reader that gets them closer to being a client in the long run. So some examples. This one, I went to see Stephen Bartlett. Wrote about a few little insights or lessons I learned from him. Second one, I went to see Alex Ramogi out in Las Vegas. Wrote about a few insights I got from him. This one was in August, where I just did a bit of a raw insight into my business. I said, look, it's been a whirlwind. We've had some great wins with new team members, new clients, breaking client records, but also we've had some challenges. We've had capacity squeezes, we've had illnesses, even had a new client pull out at the very last minute, just literally not turn up to the call. And so again, I'm being kind of raw and authentic and kind of relatable here, giving a real insight. So that's the personal insight. Then we get to the core value piece. So the purpose of this section is to do one thing, and that is to show the reader that you have the answers to their problems. Okay, this is critical. It's the old adage you may have heard of: sell the secrets, give away the implementation. And so to bring it back to my business and how we do it, we do these 4 things: ads, landing pages, follow-up, AI. And so each week I just write about how we solve one specific problem relating to one of those things. So one week, as you saw, could be the anatomy of a great email, could be our system for testing video ads, could be how we generate proven ad ideas, could be how we lower customer acquisition cost, could be how we personalize Google Ads landing pages to increase the conversion rates. Very specific problems to the specific things that we just do in our business on a daily basis that demonstrate an insight to the readers and show them that if they're having these problems, we've already got a solution. So we're probably good people to speak to if they do have that problem. Again, just try and show them that you know the answers. Or as Nigel always says, big Nigel Bottrell, he says, make the reader go, ah. Okay, that's the goal of the content. Make them go, ah. That was interesting. Ah, I get it. Okay, that's the moment we're trying to spark. Step number 4 then is all about giving a bit of yourself, because frankly right now we live in an age of information abundance, and anyone in the world can get nearly any piece of information almost instantly for practically no cost. Just think about that for a second. Anyone in the world can get nearly any piece of information almost instantly for practically no cost. It is wild. And so therefore, who is saying the thing is more important than the thing itself. And to just go meta on you and give you an example of me right now, if I didn't have a newsletter and if I hadn't generated any results for my business with my newsletter, then who the hell am I to tell you about my newsletter? I could give you the same tips that I'm giving you now, but if I didn't precursor it all with the evidence to show that I'd done it, then it's meaningless and you're probably not gonna pay much attention to it or listen to it. And that's fair enough, because why would you? I certainly wouldn't. And so when it comes to a newsletter, fundamentally the reason why people will read it is you. Plain and simple, it is you. You. And so again, I love doing a bit of inverted thinking. And so I asked myself, how could I create a newsletter that no one wants to read? Okay, plain and simple, I would share the same boring statistics, I would share the same boring industry news, I would share the same or define standard industry terms, and I would just, state the bleeding obvious to my people. Okay, and that is how a lot of businesses think about their newsletters. No, instead it's all about adding your own thoughts and opinions, because like it or not, you really are the secret sauce here. And also, think of it as almost like a bulletproof jacket. Because if you simply are sharing your thoughts and beliefs, your opinions on things, the things you've done, the results you might have got, the challenges you've encountered, the opportunities you've seized, you become invincible. No one can disprove you on any of this because it is your lived and breathed experience. So I know some people get a bit nervous about sharing things out there online, but fundamentally, if you stick to what you know and what you've actually done, then you're invincible. And it's an important distinction because, I'm an ad man at my core. We create tons of ads. And in marketing, we're always trying to talk to you, the reader, how we can benefit you, the transformation we can get you, and so on and so forth. However, in a newsletter, this kind of flips. And so I always talk about me and what I've done, and not you and you. It's like me, I did this, I got this result. Feel free to try it, maybe you will too. And frankly, this is where a lot of people fuck it up. They don't do a very good job of this, and I've got a great little example for you. So recently Meta had a performance marketing summit where they gave a bunch of updates on the platform and how it was going. And it's an easy piece of content, and so here's a snapshot from another newsletter which did the obvious, okay? They regurgitated into bullet points what Meta had said in regards to the updates. Fine. My approach was slightly different, and so I did a newsletter on the same topic, but I broke down the points that Meta said, and then I literally gave my hot take. In which case, and some of them I disagreed with, and I said why, In other cases, I agreed with them, was very excited. But the important thing was I added my opinion on top of the news, because that's what my readers care about more so than just the news, and that's how I can bind them to me and my way of thinking much better than just regurgitating facts. Step number 5, incentivize sharing. So Charlie Munger, legendary investor, rest in peace, said, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. And I'm a big believer in this as well. Now, it kind of goes without saying, this is the most common sense graph you will see all day. The more readers you have, the more valuable your newsletter. And so one of the ways to grow your newsletter is through getting it shared, and we can do that through a referral scheme. And so I first saw this through a newsletter prompts daily, so shout out to them, where at the bottom they had a little message that said you can access our prompts hub simply by referring one friend using your unique link. I thought, wow, I will definitely do that. I then also learned of the story of Morning Brew. These guys, 4 million plus subscribers to the newsletter, exited, sold the newsletter for $75 million. So newsletter just a business on its own, insane. But they had a great referral scheme, and this was a key part of their explosive growth that took them on the trajectory that they ended up on. And this is where choosing a newsletter platform, step 1, is important, because it's where we can access features that make this kind of thing really easy. So at the bottom of my newsletter, I have a referral scheme where anyone can come along and share my newsletter with 2 people. Now, good newsletters incentivize their readers to share. However, great newsletters incentivize their readers to share it with the right people, because there is a distinction there. And so my referral scheme is called the Mega Prompt of the Week. And so it's at the end, I will give my readers a prompt, which once you have 2 referrals, automatically just unlocks and is in the email. And this prompt is related to typically the topic I was talking about in the newsletter, whether it was ad creation, landing page creation, whatever it might be. And so it's marketing and AI focused, which is exactly the type of readers that I want to try and get a hold of. So that's how we tied it in. Now, to give you a raw insight to some numbers, a small percentage of people will refer. So out of the 2,100 subscribers I've got, only 154 have ever referred someone. However, they refer quite a lot of people. So that 154 referred 398 people to my newsletter, which is a solid little percentage. And as this whole thing grows, these percentages will kind of stay the same, and it will always contribute a nice little chunk of growth. So worthwhile doing. That brings us to step 6, which is all about keeping the CTAs soft. So one of the reasons that nothing happened for like 8 months when I started sending my newsletter was because I literally did not have a single CTA in the email. And that was intentional, and I was playing a long game because, I knew that Rome wasn't built in a day, and I knew that my newsletter would not be built in a day or a week or a month either. I wanted to front load and give so much value that over time I could then introduce CTAs once I'd already got enough positive goodwill for the CTAs to have an impact. I didn't want to dilute it from the start. And so it was only after about 10 months that I actually began to add in a super signature. And so the super signature, it looks a little bit like this, if I zoom in. So a super signature says, PS, whenever you're ready, there's 3 ways I can help. The first 2 here are actually value-based. So the first one's a free video, normally a link to something I post on YouTube. Secondly then is, watch another free video. I'll break down my system, how we generated £59 million for our clients last year. And that is a bit sneaky because in truth, that's a video sales letter. So they go, watch the video, get the value, but then there's a call to action from that to book a call. But then the third one is just straight up front. Look, if you've got this problem, if you're stuck with your ads, if your ad costs are too high, book a call, we'll diagnose the issue for you. And so that has worked very well. And it also maintains the integrity of your newsletter by not, littering in CTAs throughout. Finally then, step number 7 is all about having an easy feedback loop. So let's see if you recognize this guy. Yeah? What if I told you he was the author of this book, The 1 Minute Manager? Yes, his name is Ken Blanchard. And he had a great quote, and his quote was, "Feedback is the breakfast of champions." And I could not agree more. And so whilst when you launch a newsletter, you get very direct feedback in the form of, are people subscribing? Are they unsubscribing? Are they opening? Are they clicking? But if we use a newsletter platform, we get features, and we like features. And one of the features I really like is that in my newsletter, I can put a poll at the end. And this poll enables people to rate my newsletter. Was it awesome? Was it good? Was it okay? Does it need some work? To which I said, that's a good idea. And as a result, I'm able to gather simple feedback at the end of every single newsletter, which is so helpful. So you can see how people vote. Every now and then you get a few need some work. And people can also leave a comment as well to add a bit more context to their review. And let me tell you, I've had some incredibly insightful comments. Some non-insightful ones as well, don't get me wrong. But some really genuinely insightful comments that have changed the way I've done things within my newsletter because a reader has had an easy forum or an easy way to reach out and tell me. So I highly recommend getting that in. And so that concludes the 7 steps. We choose the platform, we create the identity, we create the structure, we give a bit of ourselves, we incentivize sharing with a referral scheme, we keep the CTA soft, and we create an easy feedback loop. Okie dokie, that is fantastic. The newsletter has been created, now we just need some people to read it. So I'm going to talk about now how to grow it in very simple terms. So again, we went from 0 to just over 2,000 subscribers in about a year. By no means crazy viral growth, not at all. However, the quality of this audience was a big factor for us because we are trying to get ideally business owners, marketing directors of £1 million plus businesses on there. And so naturally there aren't bajillions of them, there's only a few. But either way, there's 2 main ways that we've done this, and they are organic and paid. So I'm going to talk about organic first. So if you've ever struggled with posting content online, then frankly, a newsletter might just be the thing that makes it possible. Because one newsletter can and should turn into a week's worth of content across multiple channels. Let me explain. So you do the piece of work creating the newsletter, but this can then be repurposed into 7 LinkedIn posts and 7 Twitter posts. We can then turn these LinkedIn posts and tweets into Reels and TikToks and even YouTube Shorts as well. And then what we can do is actually just turn our newsletter in general into a long-form YouTube video. Sit down and speak it out loud. So all of a sudden we've taken that one asset and turned it into many, many things that can get pushed out across the channels. So it's one piece of heavy work, and then we get exponential outreach because of small bits of additional work. This is slow unless you've got a ginormous audience, in which case it'll be much faster, but it does yield you very high quality subscribers because you're only bringing people in based on the content that's already in the newsletter. So the alignment between them and your newsletter should be very strong, and the quality of them as engaged readers should be strong as well. This brings us to the paid methods, my favorite being a paid ads man. And I love this because we just literally use the world's simplest funnel, which is meta ads to a landing page. Crazy, I know. But newsletter ads really are the easiest type of ads to run, and that is because we have a simple landing page, okay? We have a landing page that looks like this, and so it's literally just this front half, there's nothing beneath this. We have the email field, which is the only piece of information we capture. We have our subheader, main header, another subheader, and then a little bit of social proof here. And that's it. We have an image of the newsletter here as well to further give them an insight into what to expect. And it's super simple, and it works great. This has been tested quite a lot, so feel free to swipe this overall layout and structure. But the landing page is super simple. Then we have the ad creative. So I like to keep it quick and dirty when it comes to newsletter ads. And so things I've been testing are a picture of me speaking at an event with some scribbles, a picture of my sign-up page on my desk with a red arrow drawn on it, a picture of the newsletter and me sat down in the background. But let me tell you, ultimate hack to get ridiculously low cost per lead on your newsletter: buy a chihuahua and put him on your desk in front of your sign-up page. So that is my dog Leo, and when we got this picture taken, this ad can't be beaten, let me tell you. In terms of ad copy, keep this really simple. So all of my ads copy tend to follow a similar structure: hook, retain, reward. And so the hook here is, hey, I'm Elliott, I'm 27, and in 23, I help my clients generate £59 million. That single line is just trying to build some credibility as to who the hell I am and why you should listen to anything that I've said. I then say every Tuesday I share a free newsletter with tips on getting more customers and boosting sales with paid ads and AI. Short overview of what the newsletter is. If you want to grow your business, follow the link to sign up. It's free. Super simple, super straightforward. Now, not all ads are equal, don't get me wrong, and sometimes you'll need to monitor the lead quality from your paid ads to make sure you're getting the right kind of people. And so if you use a newsletter platform, it's really easy to track because you can track the engagement from the different sources. And so this is a snapshot from Beehive, and you can see my acquisition source. We've got website direct, referral direct, and Facebook CPC. And I can then see the engagement rates, open rates, and click rates. Now, Facebook open rates are 44, which is not bad at all. But what did happen one time is we launched a bunch of new ads, and all of a sudden my open rate fell through the floor because we were getting some really bad quality subscribers. And it was because of the different ad creative and who Facebook was showing the ads to. But because I was monitoring this, we made the change quickly, we reverted back, and we saved the quality. So that is the most important thing. So there you have it. How to create it using the 7 steps, and then how to actually grow it, choosing either the organic methods of your newsletter or deploying the world's simplest funnel. And so this all ties back to the momentum snowball and how when you start this process, it's not going to be an overnight success. Maybe it will if you're lucky, but for the majority, it's going to take many, many weeks of consistently pushing out good stuff before you begin to build A, the volume of the list, but B, the goodwill needed to actually stimulate the response. But when it does, oh boy, will it be worth it. So if you want to see everything in action that I've just spoken about, this QR code takes you to my newsletter. You can see the sign-up page. You can see the 2 automated emails that get sent to you initially to set the tone, and then you see the weekly ones come through. But of course, otherwise, thank you for listening. I think newsletters are underrated and very powerful tools. This is my current blueprint. No doubt this will evolve over time. But let me know, did you find this useful? Do you like long-form content like this? Do you disagree with any points? Do you have a better newsletter strategy? I would love to hear it. Thank you so much. Over and out.